Hello and welcome back to Simon Says Star Wars. This is going to be my part 2 of the Rise of Skywalker kind of spoilers review. If you haven't listened to my part 1, head over to my Twitter, Kirky McJerky in the Twitterverse, and you can check that out there. I'm also waiting for it to upload to Apple. So, look, I've had another 48 hours to think about all this sort of stuff and process my thoughts for this next one. And mind you, I'm pretty hungover today, so let's hope this is as coherent for you all as possible. Pretty much where I left it off was Pisana, kind of talking about the Knights of Ren, Chewie, Rey and Kylo kind of facing off, and they're pulling the shuttle or pulling and pushing the shuttle, and Rey loses her control, and she, lightning force zaps the shuttle, destroying it. And it's like, yeah, Chewie's not even on there. So it's like, whatever. The thing is, the weight of that scene in general, the way it's shot, is that it's like, hey, we got to get back to our other ship, that, Ochi's original ship, and get the hell out of here. And then suddenly it's like, whoosh, whoosh, wipe, next scene. And then it's like, oh yeah, but he's on this Star Destroyer, and we can go find him. And for me, it's like there's so many different exposition wipes that it's just moving along at such a frantic pace that while it's pretty straightforward to follow, it's all too conveniently paced and quick. It's like, hey, I'm going to go see this guy, but this guy's going to tell me to go see that guy. And then by the time I see that guy, they're going to tell me to see this guy, and then everything's convenient, and I've got to find where I got to get to. So for me, it's like, the Pisana part is one part of it, and this leads into my next thing, which was the Kijimi. Zori Bliss, I must say, Kerry Russell's character was really good. I thought she was believable. I thought she was really a good character. Obviously, some sort of, I think she was a past bounty hunter of some description, and obviously had some sort of romantic past history with Poe Dameron, which was cool element. I thought their banter was actually really well done. But again, this is one of those scenes that ties into the ability for, Rey and I guess Poe and Finn ending up on the Star Destroyer to free Chewie, literally within 5 minutes later after the Pisana, 5-10 minutes after the Pisana, like, part of the story. And, again, his Kylo's like, where are they? Oh, they're down in Kijimi. He comes down. If he can always sense her, though, and by this stage they are up on the Star Destroyer, how can how can he not sense that part until they have that link? And again, she's in the throne room, and they're like teleporting, right? They're teleporting between the Star Destroyer and Kijimi, but yet he only realizes it when a physical object is moved from one part of, I guess, they're teleporting to the other, and then he goes, oh, so that's where you are. It's like, so it's visually appealing to everyone, but it serves no purpose because they actually can't see where each other are. It's just good for, it's just like, oh, here's the scene. They're fighting on both planet and starship. So it kind of didn't work for me that whole part. They're kind of like fighting on both parts and they're clashing, but it's like, but if they're fighting and they can physically see each other, I guess in a way, then why wouldn't he be able to physically see his surroundings where she is? But because they clearly are clashing lightsabers, and it's weird, like this force connection they have, which is then described later as a force dyad. Ultimately, what their relationship is, it still, there's some errors in it. Sometimes it just feels too convenient to move the plot and the story forward because of their connection. Which leads me to another issue that I've got with that entire sequence. Poe and Finn are running on they get Chewbacca out, and they're running, and they're just like, pew, 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 killing everybody, right? All these stormtroopers, they never stand a chance. And it's just, it's like, where's the threat level, right? Like who is... They're never a threat. The First Order has never been a threat, right? Like, who's actually afraid of them? Nobody, because they've lost every single battle that they've ever been in, and they're absolutely fucking useless. They can't hit anyone. I actually think they're worse shots than the Stormtroopers in the original trilogy. And when and I was like, oh, of course they're going to show, hopefully soon, at least one of these three getting shot, like I guess Chewbacca did in The Force Awakens, and Poe gets shot. to the next scene and then moves on from there, and it just doesn't work. There's no threat level. You're not scared for the safety of your heroes because you know that the First Order are absolutely useless. And then that leads to the next dumbass reveal, and it's like, General Hux is the mole. Shocking, because he was a useless general completely from the beginning. He was made into a complete buffoon who was pretty much hoodwinked by a dumb mum joke and prank phone call in episode 8. So he was always being portrayed as just a useless leader and general of the First Order. So when he was, shoot me and gets shot in the leg, he goes back, and then General Pride's like, nah, but I've had enough for you anyway, bam, and he gets shot and he's dead anyway. So it's just like, he was just another wasted character, just like Chrome Domehead in episode 8 and episode 7. Phasma, just a useless. Brienne of Tarth meets bloody Boba Fett in an armor suit. I don't know. She's just ridiculous. She was a wasted character too. But and then they get off the ship, and then it's like, oh, we've got to go find now this other planet, because now we've deciphered, the dagger, and then we're going to go to this other planet and conveniently meet somebody else, and she happens to end up being Lando's daughter, and where it's a really weird exchange at the end, and which leaves it really open, which is kind of, I didn't get it, because it's like, oh yeah, let's extend the story probably on Disney Plus, but who actually cares about Lando's daughter? Like, I'm sorry, but who actually cared about that character? She was cool. The plan was cool. That kind of like woolly mammoth horse racing things that they rode on on a Star Destroyer into space and on that planet was kind of cool, but it wasn't realistic to me. I know none of it's realistic in Star Wars, but like sometimes you just feel connected in with these movies that you can believe those things are happening. For me, that woolly mammoth horse cattle dog thing was just ridiculous. And she's got the dagger and she pulls out this like part of the side of it, right? And it's pretty much like a metal dildo that comes out the side, and she's like, sizing it up. There it is. Yes, I think it's going to be right there as the throne room on the corpse of this Star Destroyer, which, mind you, was obliterated into a million pieces in Return of the Jedi. So I don't know how parts of this structure are actually still pretty well formed and intact. And once again, conveniently, she grabs a water skimmer. And again, she's got no trouble, getting across these 20-foot waves after never flying one of these things before, and gets to the Death Star. And, of course, she gets to the throne room and she has her Force vision of what she's, can be Empress Palpatine. That's when she kind of realizes who she is, essentially, without anyone really truly telling her. Well, even though Kylo hinted. And it's like, she enters this room and the holocron is right there, right? Well, wayfinder, but let's be honest, it's a holocron. And it's still intact in like this force field. Like, how is that thing still suspended right there? And it's like, I'm going to get that. And then Kylo rocks up. He's flown his ship there and he's landed on it. He's followed her there again. And then they break out into a fight. And it's like, the choreography is terrible. Like, my God, terrible. I mean, if they had just hired somebody who did work on the prequels, these lightsaber fights would be unbelievable. But half the time, if you watch closely, Rey is like making a move and then she stops in her swing a certain way, because that's when like Adam Driver, Kylo, will like swing down or swing at, and it's like a cause and effect kind of like, it's more like a dance, a choreographed dance, than it is an actual like impromptu lightsaber fight. And it should look like an impromptu lightsaber fight and not like a dance. And it didn't do anything for me, and this part really pains me, because I love Princess Leia, right? Everyone loves Princess Leia, and the scene goes to her and she's dying, and she kind of distracts Kylo, call out to him, and he kind of pauses, and obviously by this stage Rey is kind of tapping into the dark side, and she's losing her control, and she stabs him. And he falls down, and then Leia dies. And the weight of that scene was lost on me, because I was like, I didn't care that Kylo just got stabbed in the guts, because I never feared that he would actually be killed off, because I knew he was there at the end. So that scene was a convenient plot point again for Rey to show for the second time that she can not only heal a random snake on Pisana, she can also heal Kylo Ren, which took away from the sadness and the sorrow of us losing our beloved princess. So then she puts her hand on him and heals his wound and brings him back to life with her force energy, right? With the force healing energy, which is fine, but it takes some of her force energy to, as a Jedi, can take force energy out. And this is from the EU, and this is why I like that they brought this in, but the way that it's done in the context of who Rey is and everything else then follows, it just doesn't work. It's not executed well, because then she heals him and he's like, whoa, what the hell? Like, I can't believe she did that for me, kind of moment. And she's just like so pissed, and she's just like, no, I'm gone. And the crazy thing is, it's like, well, where did you learn that from? The sacred Jedi texts that Yoda said were not really page turners, and that she already has everything that she needs. What's the line? Everything she needs, she already has with her in her, something like that line. And that's just garbage, because it's like, okay, so you've read some books over a year, and suddenly now you can heal another Force user. How? Like, Leia never finished her training, and then she got old. She is not going to be able to, teach Rey how to harness that power correctly. And she was only tapping into the dark side 30 seconds earlier. So I don't understand. She can go from dark side tapping to light side healing like that. And it just doesn't work. The weight of that emotional scene should have been oh my God. But it wasn't. It was just of course. Of course she's healing him. So there were so many parts like that throughout the movie that, again, then from this moment onwards, for me, wrapping up this part 2 of this spoiler review for Rise of Skywalker, it just got worse and worse and worse for me. So again, reach out to me on Twitter, at KirkyMcJerky in the Twitterverse, and let me know your thoughts on all of this. Did you have the same frustrations, the same observations that I did? Did these things work for you, not work for you? And tell me, why it did or didn't, because, I think that's a great part to have a chat about this sort of stuff. But I will do part 3, again, as soon as I can. Drop me some comments and let me know.